program. We're dealing with a controversial topic today, one I think that, well, one that we probably wouldn't have done 7 or 8 years ago because it really wasn't a topic 7 or 8 years ago. But now it seems more and more people are wondering about the effects of children in advertising being portrayed in sexy ways. Are kids losing their youth because of this? Is there some potential danger in it? Well, we're going to get into that. We have Dr. Sam Janus on the program, who wrote a book called Death of Innocence. We have kids and their moms and fathers, some of whom are models and want to be very much in show business and in commercial. We have the president of Jordache Jeans, and we're going to be tossing this subject around. It's an interesting one, and I hope you'll stay with us.
Midday with Bill Boggs is the New York area Emmy Award winner for Outstanding Discussion Interview Series.
We have very, very cute children in the audience today. And I hope the subject that we get into is one that on some level or another we can involve them. We have young teenagers and below, as well as their parents. But I ask you at home this question, and as I'm about to pose it to a couple of members of our audience, do you think that there is a harm in children being seen as sex objects on television commercials? Now think about that, and think about some of the commercials you may have seen, or some of the print advertising that you might have seen over the past couple of months. Random through the audience, starting with this gentleman. Hi, sir. Can you stand up? What's your name?
Bob Moreau.
All right, now, you've got the general thrust of today's program, right? We were talking about this a little bit before we came on the air. What do you think?
Okay. I think, to an extent, it's normal for a 12, 13, 14-year-old child to experiment with dressing up, try a slit skirt, try Jordache jeans, try something that they want to experiment with their sexuality, to be a woman, to be a young man. I only get upset when it's taken out of context. In some commercials, an 8-year-old girl is being picked up on a bar stool by a 9-year-old boy. I mean, that's a little silly. But I think sexuality is a normal part in the child's age, not for sex, but for experimentation, for trying to find your maturity.
What about the actual portrayal in commercials? Some things don't bother you and some things do,
right.
Depending on what it is.
Whether it's out of context.
Okay, I'll pop over here. You, sir, what's your opinion on this subject? I mean, if you stand up, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. What first your name?
My name is Stan Keels.
Hi, Stan.
Hi, how are you?
Did you bring someone today, or did you just show up on your own?
I came on my own because I'm in.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think children are used as sex objects on TV, specifically because the children watching them, what they're going to end up doing is try to imitate them. And I think if they try to imitate sexual behavior at too early an age, I think it can be damaging.
What kind of damage do you think?
I don't think physiologically or emotionally they're ready to handle the situation. In terms of experimenting sexually, I think that can be damaging to a very young child. 8 or 9 years old is too young.
All right, thanks for your opinion. We may be hearing more from you later on. Would you give me your thought on this? Is that your daughter there? Yeah. Hi, she should stand up too, just to say hello. What's your name?
Susan Hill.
And Susan, and you are?
Melissa Hill.
Hi, Melissa. What's your feeling on this?
I think they've toned it down considerably. It used to be with Jordache and all that, they went a little too far, but I think they've toned it.
What is going too far?
The one commercial with the little girl and the little boy, a little bit too sexual. They were looking into each other's eyes.
What do you think about this subject, Melissa? Does it make any sense to you at all? Or is this just adults worrying too much about you kids? What do you think?
Adults worrying about too much kids.
She took the latter. All right. And I notice most of the kids in the audience are applauding. I want one more person over here with an opinion. Let's see. Oh, okay. Hi. What's your name?
Hi.
Your name is?
Grace Dolan.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with the little girl. I think that
you agree with the little girl?
Yeah, I do.
She's only 7 years old, Grace, but pretty intelligent kid.
I feel that the children who make these commercials enjoy making them, and the children 8, 9, 10 years old that are watching them are watching it on that level. And I think the adults are making a lot more, they're reading into it. I think it's their problem, not the children's.
All right. Now, I think that when, all right, we get some response to that. So this is not your problem. You have not seen things in commercials that have bothered you at all?
No, I don't really think so.
Okay, well, I'll be checking back in with you as the show goes on. Here's a man who does not agree with you. This is Dr. Sam Janus, Ph.D., author of a book called The Death of Innocence. And your opinion on this subject, sir, is?
I believe that we are, A, robbing children of childhood, and that by eroticizing childhood, we're really creating a whole new dangerous environment for these kids to grow up in.
What's dangerous about it?
I believe that by pushing children and taking them out of childhood, they're unprepared for what may come later, and that accounts for the tremendous upsurge in VD. The only group having it is pre-adolescent groups where there's an upsurge in it. The adults have leveled off. Pregnancies, runaways, all of the social discontents you see today have a great deal to do with violence and sex.
All right, Stan Schwartz is with us. Stan is here, and we will find out exactly why he wants to take part in this program. I think, well, the reason I say that is, as president of Jordache Jeans, I think you, in a way, you put yourself on the line, and I respect that. You know, it'd be easy to say, well, we're above this, and we're not doing this, whatever. Why are you here, and what do you think about this subject? Stan Schwartz, president of Jordache Jeans.
Thank you, Bill. First of all, Dr. Janus' opinion is his own and fairly valid to what he has to say. We, as a company, just don't see it that way. Number one, I've expressed myself several times regarding the subject in other places than television. And that
like
is,
the Phil Donahue show?
I didn't want to mention that, Bill.
I thought we'd just get it out, you know. Get that over with.
Having a fairly solid foundation myself as a human being, and having the love at home and the affection I have for my parents, and my children who do today, the same thing, who've enjoyed that, they don't see it that way. My kids are extremely attuned to today's lifestyle. I have an 11-year-old boy who's loving and affectionate and beautiful and sees all of our commercials. He does not see it in any shape, form.
What does he think it is, fun?
It depends how he was brought up. He looks at it as just being another thing in life. It's a stage that he's got to go through, and he's well adjusted. I think what we're missing here, it's not so much the commercials at the age of 8, 9, 12, or 13, but it's the structure of the home lifestyle. And that's something I have nothing to defend on. I mean, it starts at very young of age.
It depends on each individual home.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bill.
Look, let me take a break for a commercial. We'll come back. I want to get lots of response from you. Applause, noises, and things like that. But first, let's take a break, and we'll come back with our guests, two guests you just met, to further hash this out right after this. We'll be right back. Okay, I did it again. Well, you don't know what I did. Well, some people do. I gave wrong information, although it is not dreadful. Did I give you a promotion, Stan?
Quite
I said you were president of Jordache Jeans.
Well, jeans is one thing, and then we have another division that's called the whole licensing development group, which is...
You're even higher than I gave.
It's everything. It's everything we do in Jordache.
You're the top of the heap.
We do a lot of things.
Well, congratulations.
Okay.
Now, the Jordache, by the way, is a company that started as an empty pocket with their label on it. Today, the label generates more than $350 million annually, and the Jordache name appears in 25 countries.
Correct. 26 as of yesterday, but that's fine.
What was it? Which country did you add yesterday?
We signed up France.
About time.
About time.
About time they got some good genes over there.
That's
all right. And Sam Janus, Ph.D., and this is the title of the book, and we're going to key off of your opinions pretty largely on today's show. The book is called The Death of Innocence, How Our Children Are Endangered by the New Sexual Freedom. Now, since we've got split opinions in the audience, and since you're obviously going to be at odds with Stan, let's begin with, what do you think if you had to fire one missile into this subject where you think you would make the greatest impact, what would it be? What is your biggest leading punch?
Merely the major argument is primarily that we've stopped having and looking at children as objects of joy because simply we love them, and we started to use children as functional. They not only buy stuff, let's make them forget about childhood, it's a waste of time. As a civilization, Bill, we've only had childhood for the last century. Prior to that, childhood for the last century. Prior to this, you had kids which farmers had because they needed them to work the fields. So you had people who had to support their families. Just having children and letting them be irresponsible, you don't have to work for a living, we'll pay for school. In other words, let them be children. I don't mean biologically, we only had children for the last century, but just to be able to have them as love objects. We love you, you don't have to do a thing to merit that love. And recently, we've really started very strongly at ever younger ages pressing children into the commercial world. Now, with all due respect, I think that many of the jeans commercials have been attacked, but we have something far worse. There are now the makeup kits for children 3 and 4 years old, where the children of 3 and 4 are told to make up and look sexy and cute. Now, children have always put on their parents' makeup and tried to look sexy. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But they knew it was their mother's makeup, and that when I grow up, there's a certain age it will be appropriate. Right now, it's not appropriate. By telling them at 3 or 4, it's fine. By the time they hit 8 or 9, they want the real thing, and now they're going to be wearing also the padded bras at 8, 9, and they're getting pregnant. Did you know, Bill, that the last year we had full statistics from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. We had 10,000 children in the U.S. who had babies below age 10. The mothers were below age 10.
There's a lot of statistics there, and certainly I don't think that's all related to advertising. It certainly has virtually nothing to do with Jordache jeans. But you ran through a number of points, and what you're really talking about is loss of youth, death of innocence, or on another level, the eroticization of childhood. What's your reaction, Stan, to this general thesis?
I'm not disputing the doctor's point of views. I'm just saying that we have a marketing strategy to sell jeans. And our marketing strategy, when it comes to the kids part of it, we're very cautious. We're not out to, by all means, to hurt Americans' image on childhood and dispute, be in dispute with the doctor. All we're saying is we're very cautious. We've never been turned on by FTC. Our commercials always have been put through.
Now, what in this area, since one area you can talk about is advertising of jeans on television, why don't you just take a moment and give us a little background on what has happened? There have been some objectionable ads on television, have there not?
Controversial is the word.
Controversy to the extent that they were.
Again, yes, they were. Okay, and we have to be careful on presenting that to the public. There was one commercial that people said was a little bit out of tune to what's happening. The classroom commercial.
Which one was that?
The classroom commercial.
Was that your commercial?
Yes, of course.
And what happened in that commercial?
Again, when we produce a commercial, we look at it as a lifestyle. I mean, there were 2 kids in classrooms. I don't know if the audience had seen those commercials. But again, those kids are...
A couple kids are shaking.
Okay.
Now mothers are shaking their heads.
All right.
Fathers are looking confused.
Well,
go ahead.
Father always hears last.
Yeah.
Well, he's out working.
The commercial was geared to a classroom, boys and girls in a classroom, which is normal in public schools, okay, or parochial schools. And the kids are 11 or 12 or 13 years of age. They're friendly. They're looking at each other. They're not, you know, if it's taken out of context, as you said before, Bill, it's a problem. It was not in our eyes. We looked at it. We thought it was fun. Teacher comes in, she's there in classroom, everybody stops talking and playing, and they go back to sit down, and the commercial focuses to the pocket, which is the Jordache jean. We want to sell the jean.
The pocket is on the rear end.
Yeah, unfortunately, if the pocket was on the nose, we'd put the thing on the commercial, the nose.
Jordache nose.
Unfortunately, it was at the back, and we have to show the name. That's what sells the product. That's how we sold $400 million worth of goods this year. So it was not done truly not done in any way or shape to harm these wonderful kids that we love, because it's a wonderful business for us, and we enjoy doing business with the kids.
You see, Bill, what's interesting is 5 years from now, that very commercial stand might not be objectionable. In fact, it would be considered tame. And that's the nutty part, is that there is a progressive thing. Several years ago, many of these commercials wouldn't have been on. We seem to be getting what we call either liberal or just absolutely anarchic. There's total chaos in that anything goes. If it sells, it's worth it. Now, are we pandering to taste, or is there somebody in the society that has to say we must provide a structure for children to grow up in till they can make informed decisions?
I've got to go back to my other, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I just know one thing, that I think all of this has to begin at home. It has to begin with parenthood, Bill. Dr. Janus, I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm saying that I don't think it's the fault of the makeup people. I don't think it's the fault. There's $100 million worth of business being done today in makeup for children. Over $100 million. It's a question of how you present this to the public. Is it right or wrong? Is the problem there, or is the problem previous to that? I think, again, we're hitting the wrong media, which is advertising. I think if we have to get into that subject, as far as this protection of childhood innocence, I think we've got to start at a very young age, and that's truly at infancy at that point.
Well, Dr. Janus's point about the eroticization of youth is one I'd like to hear you address yourself to. Do you think that in the buying and the application of makeup for girls, I can't think of a counterpart for boys. If I could, I would come up with it. That there is something lost. I don't mean good or bad, but really he's saying death or lost. Do you think that there is an innocence lost by a 6 or 7-year-old putting eye makeup on, having her own little bureau? Maybe not. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. What do you think?
Bill, I really don't know. I really can't tell you. I remember my sister. Those days there was no makeup. She was 5 years of age, 30 years ago. She made her own makeup by putting mud and things together, and she painted herself.
Oh, I bet she was cute.
Well, she must have been. You know, kids did certain things. And
you see, but what you're addressing, really,
so
the
on one level, wait, just let me say, on one level, maybe there's nothing new about it. Maybe it's just an opportunity to sell something in typical free marketplace fashion, where there's always been a need for this. That kids are out in the backyard painting themselves up like Indians. Or maybe on the other hand, the sexiness, the sexy atmosphere that pervades adult commercials somehow overlaps into children's commercials and thus does something wrong. I don't know. I'm just trying to examine the subject.
Sure. No, what we're saying is I don't believe really that SCHWARZ really has the burden for what has happened. Okay, so I don't say that. But you put it collectively together between all of the various forces in our society that are pushing kids into having early sex, that it's appropriate and terrific. And then you have to say, is there some need for some kind of social conscience? Do we have to think about consequences, or are we going to say it sells and that's all I'm responsible for? I mean, somebody at some point has to look out for what's going on. He's absolutely right that the family is really the actual basic influence. But when you have a divorce rate of 1 out of 2 in the country, and you have millions of kids without homes, we're hitting kids at a time when they have the least amount of structure of families, when their own parents who are divorced are out swinging and trying to find their lost childhood, and there really is no one to say, I'll show you that you can enjoy being a child. You were right, Bill, when you said maybe this has always gone on with the mud that Stan mentioned, but what we're doing now is commercializing that. Hey, we can make a buck on it, so somebody's making that buck.
Well, the question is, we'll take a break. Is there anything wrong with that buck being made? Stan would say.
I would say no.
He would say no. You would say?
Absolutely there is.
Well, let's see what the audience says. Plus, there was a woman I noticed in the audience just before the show came on, put some lipstick on a little girl. And I'm going to ask her what she thinks about this right after pause. Okay, the subject at hand, whether or not there is an erotic process happening to young children because of our society just zooming into the 80s with commercials where makeup is being sold for kids, where kids are being portrayed in commercials in sexy ways, in the ways that adults might be portrayed in commercials. Is there something wrong with this? Are children likely to be losing their innocence in their childhood, or is it just fun? Is it just something that kids get off on being little adults in the first place? As I said before, just before the show came on the air, I saw you putting some lipstick on your daughter. Now, would you stand up for a second, please? By the way, your daughter is as cute as can be. If we can get a shot of her. Hi. All right, now, what's your name? Yeah, there's daughter. Here's little daughter here. Can we stand her up? Is she a guest or a prop at this point? That's the question. Okay, and what's your name? April? Hello, April. Hi. Now, your name is?
Arlene.
Arlene. Now, why were you putting lipstick on little April?
I was putting lip gloss on, and she wanted it.
Because she wanted it, right?
And she plays with what the makeup that the gentleman was talking about.
That stuff.
See nothing wrong with it.
Right.
For her age. And she's only 4 years old.
Now, April, I've interviewed younger, but not much younger. Can you tell me, April, what there is you like about playing with that makeup?
I don't know.
The red lipstick that you wanted to put on before we left your room. Tell him. She doesn't want to tell.
No, I failed again. It's okay. April, at any point during the show, she just got it.
Just gave her one of those little makeup things for her birthday.
All right, now look, Dr. Janus, here is a mother and the daughter doing exactly what you think should not be done.
Yes, because what's happening when you ask the child,
I
Bill...
have to clarify this. I wouldn't have bought it, but somebody gave it to her for her birthday.
Well, it has to start somewhere. Somebody gives it, you buy it. What we're saying is when you ask the child, why did you put it on? She says, I don't know. All we know is a desire has been created in her to wear it. She's seen it on television. She's seen the older kids, and children are always mimicking older kids, and she sees it and suddenly it becomes very desirable. I'm sure it has no inherent value, but as she keeps using it and gets to learn to look a little sexier and cuter with the slit skirts and the low-cut blouses even before they have anything to hide, then this is going to become a whole lifestyle to a child. By age 9 or 10, it will be hard to predict what she'll be doing that you might have been more comfortable with at 18. So what's cute now may become dangerous tomorrow.
Let's have your response. Go right ahead. Tell the doctor.
I have to say honestly that I agree with the other gentleman that the values you set for them at home are going to be how they grow up. And if they're playing around with makeup at the age of 4, I do not think they're going to turn in.
You're assuming she's going to stop playing around with makeup by 5. Is that right, ma'am?
I don't know if she's going to stop having makeup, but I don't think it's going to lead to
What do you think the chances are of her not developing increasing interest in personal erotic beauty and looking sexy and cute? Do you think that will be turned off or enhanced by what you're doing?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I said, do you think that what you're doing is going to either turn off her interest in looking erotic and beautiful, or do you think that this is going to be enhanced? In other words, she's going to be more interested in looking like a cute, sexy, foxy
I think she's
girl.
going to be more interested in looking like a cute,
That's
sexy.
right. That's exactly the point. And that as she grows a little older, you know, we lose control of our children early. Their peers start to make a big influence of them. It used to be at 16, then 15. By 9 and 10, you can't tell most kids because their friends are doing it. That's the big answer. All my friends are doing it. What you're doing is hastening the day that she's going to say, my friends are doing it, and I don't care what you say, Mommy.
Well, I also think we live in a very competitive world. My daughter is a professional model, and I think there's nothing wrong with doing what she's doing.
Oh, say no more than that, of course, then this child is being thrown right into the commercial.
I wouldn't have her in this business. I wouldn't be here tonight if I felt any different. But I think that the morals we set for them have nothing to do with makeup or jeans or anything like that.
I don't see how, ma'am, you can separate physical appearance. We're talking about this kid's body, this kid's appearance, and you keep telling her, honey, the way people will like you when you look good, you know what looking good is? Not looking scrubbed and clean, but makeup and lipstick and rouge. That will be the way you get attention. And if you think that's going to wear out, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it heightens as she starts to reach a little bit older. She's 4 now, 6, 7, 8. This kid is going to now become very aware in a very exaggerated, premature, precocious way. The way she's going to get approval is to have a good-looking body, and I think kids should be spared that till nature gives them the body that they're intending with a secondary sexual characteristic.
I'll give you a couple moments to respond. It's obvious that you're simply not worried about this, and I don't think on any level I want to put you in a position of feeling that you're supposed to be worried about it, but this it's an interesting confrontation. Nothing that the doctor said really threatens you on any level, does it?
No. Nothing. I don't know what more I can say. Just nothing you're saying is threatening to me.
No. Well, listen, there are, of course, tangible results. I don't know how much of a bank account she has. Stan was telling me before, one of their 12-year-old models, okay to repeat it, made $330,000 last year. There's always the money. And once kids get a taste of money and that sex sells and that their body is sexy and they've got youth only once, it's going to be awfully hard to stop them. Now, this may not bother
here's
you.
another woman
Many mothers live vicariously through their kids, so good luck to you if that's your thing.
Dr. Janus, hold on for a second. Let's get your opinion. Just stand up, and anyone I come to.
I don't think the children do it for money or they have a good time, and that's all there is to it. I don't think they do it for money, and they're pushing themselves, and I don't know.
Where are all the pregnant kids, and where's the rise of millions of ED?
I don't think that goes just to
Nothing
commercials.
to do with this, right?
I don't think that just goes to commercials, and I don't think the kids that are pregnant are the kids that are doing the commercials.
No, you made a very good point. No, the lady made an excellent point. You see, my concern isn't everybody who's worried about Brooke Shield and how she'll take it. My concern isn't so much with the few children that are making the big bucks on this. My concern is with the millions of American kids sitting home who watch this and say, that's the thing to do. No, the models have enough money to pay for psychiatrists and obstetricians. But my concern is with the millions of kids sitting home where this is told to them, this is what you need to do to gain acceptance and be loved.
Let's get a reaction to that. Do you have...
There's no reaction to it because I just said it. It's the kids do it for fun, and that's it. I can't see how you can say that.
Right,
you're saying everything goes back, commercials and everything go back to that. It's the home environment again.
I interviewed close to 3,000 children for the book, and we also did surveys with 4,000 others. Initially, I thought we'd start the book with children 11, 12. Much to my surprise, when we had kids who were pregnant at 8 and 9, and kids who were running away at 7 and 8, so that the largest number of runaways at 12, 13, I said, It's happening from somewhere. My God, it's not coming out of a vacuum. Something
I
from
think
Mars didn't
well,
land
maybe those
here.
children have problems with their families. I think that's a big part of it.
How many children, do you know any kid that doesn't have a problem with their family? At some age, they all do virtually today.
But that's life. I mean, the kids have to overcome things, and maybe running away is the only answer because of their home life.
All right, you now had a question you want.
I think that you're saying the children that are in this business are going to end up pregnant. I think, maybe I read wrong into what you were saying.
No, I think you heard it partially wrong. I said that I am not really that concerned with the children who are making a lot of money, because they have the money and the means, and they have over-involved mothers who are going to take care of them. I'm concerned with the millions of American children who are sitting home, who are looking at this and saying, wow, that's the way I'm going to gain acceptance.
I want to hear from you, sir. You seem to be very anxious to make a point. Stand up. We saw you at the top of the show. What's your point, sir?
Well, there are two things. First of all, I wonder how, and I'm asking the parents and the children this question, I wonder how the kids are taking the pressure that they're under when I think they should be outside playing. And the amount of time that they spend in primping and making sure they look good could be spent, like you said before, playing as a 5-year-old.
You don't mean the kids who are on the commercials. You mean the kids in general, getting dressed up, using makeup.
I'm talking about kids in general, and specifically we're talking about child models here.
Okay, so you think child models should just be out in the street playing or in the playgrounds rather than
then certainly spending so much time spent on their...
Let's get a reaction to that. Hi. Can you, again, stand up if you would. Thanks.
Hi. I think that children that are in the modeling business have all the time in the world to play at their disposals, and I think they're fine. They're well-adjusted children.
Okay. His opinion over here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I agree with that woman. I have a 10-and-a-half-year-old well-adjusted child who just shot a Dijon commercial.
Stand up so we can see. She just did a commercial?
Entire day on Tuesday doing a Dijon commercial, and then spent the next day playing outside riding a bike. So I see that it balances, you know?
Okay. Well, obviously the thrust of today's show is not whether or not is there life in $300,000 a year as a model, but the other thing we were talking about before, yes, sir, stand up.
I didn't mention before, I'm very involved with Scouts. I'm a Scout Master. I'm involved with the Cub Scouts. My daughter
She's not a Cub Scout, I'll say that.
Girl Scout. We just started the Girl Scouts. And one of the things that I've seen as a problem with the boys and the girls is lack of family involvement. We're trying to get the kids not to play in the streets anymore. We're trying to get them involved in something with their families. If their fathers went out and played ball with the kids, fine, let them go out and play in the street. But they're not doing that anymore.
That comes back to Stan's point, that the family involvement. All right, I'll tell you what, we're segments over, right? We'll take a break. We'll continue this subject. I know almost everyone at this point. Do you have an opinion? Well, I have to hear your opinion. Stand up. Stand up on your chair. What's your opinion, kid?
I don't really think that it's very sexy just wearing makeup, because I put on my mother's makeup all the time without asking her, and she doesn't really care.
But, Bill,
you know, I thought she was just going to gurgle into the microphone. I'll tell you, we'll come back and we'll hear more from my new co-hosts right after this. I'll get your point, Sam.